by Mike, the Big Cheese.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is March 2nd. Thank God February is over. March came in pretty mild, I have to say. We had a pretty good week here in New York. We were in like the high 40s, mid 50s. It felt like the summer compared to the brutal weather we had, throughout pretty much since December. So I'm very happy about that. And spring comes this month, so we get to open the pool probably by the end of March, beginning of April, and get the summer season going right afterwards. Hey, we got a great show for everybody tonight. Tim Wilson of Rollin Coffin, if you were part of the hardcore scene in the late 80s, early 90s here in New York, you remember him from Visions of Disorder. Where we actually spoke with Tim already. The interview was pre-recorded. He called in very late to the interview, so it's not as long as I wanted it to be. We kind of rushed through it, but Tim's a great guy, and we had a pretty decent interview out of it. So we'll get to that later on in the show. Right there, the Cro-Mags with Death Camps. The Cro-Mags, one of the finest, and I mean finest, New York hardcore bands ever. At least they were in the beginning. Age of Quarrel is a masterpiece from start to finish. Not one bad song on that record. This song, Death Camps, comes off their second record, Best Wishes, which I believe came out in '89, I want to say. And Harley, the bass player, took over on vocals. John Joseph was kind of kicked out of the band at that point. They felt he couldn't sing new material. The band was moving away from the hardcore sound that they helped create and a whole scene that they helped develop, more into the thrash metal scene. And it was a pretty good record, Best Wishes, but not the Cro-Mags that I loved on that first record, but a pretty solid record from start to finish. After that, everything kind of went to hell with the band, so not much to say about the Cro-Mags after that. They're still together today. Harley has the band going after a bunch of lawsuits about who owns the name and stuff like that, and it went on and on forever. I think the last time I had Harley on the show was right after he stabbed somebody at I forgot the club that they were at in Manhattan, but he stabbed the bass player, the new bass player for the Cro-Mags, I believe. It was a funny story. Not for the guy that got stabbed, but when Harley tells it, it is. So the Cro-Mags are still together today and still putting out music. So if you're a fan, go and check them out. A lot of deaths taking place this week. We lost Buster Poindexter. I can't believe it. He's gone. David Johansen of the New York Dolls. The New York Dolls was a little bit before my time. I think I was like 4 or 5 years old when they came out, maybe 10 when they broke up. And at that point in time, I was just starting to get into Kiss in the mid 70s. So never really got into the New York Dolls. But David Johansen was always a character. Born out here in Staten Island, so is a good guy. And he just announced like 2 weeks ago that he was in stage 4 cancer. And he didn't make it that long after that. I guess he knew his time was up and he was going to just mention it to everybody like that. I know he did a GoFundMe to cover some of his expenses. So he was a funny guy, especially like, when he did his stand-up act and he was acting in movies and he did his other roles. Very funny guy. But we also lost Coben Var from Annihilator. Christian wanted to hear a song off his first band, Prisoner. They were a pretty good outfit, They had one record out back in '86, and then they kind of broke up. He went on to Omen after that, and then Annihilator in like '89. Played with the band for about 5 or 6 years before that fell apart too. That's just the story with Annihilator. They've had too many singers to even name on this show, but he was a good voice. I really like Prisoner. I wish somebody would re-release that album. It was a solid record. It just needs a good mixing. So let's get something off of that. Oh, who else? Scoresby from Witchfind, the drummer, passed away this week also. He died in a car accident. Very sad, in his late 60s. We'll talk about that after we play a couple of songs, but Christian wanted to rip it up from Prisoner. Here you go. Merciful Fate went into the Coven. Merciful Fate must be working on the same time schedule as Excited to get a new record out. We've been hearing for the last 5 years that they have new music, they're putting the new music together, they're recording the new music. We just don't get any of it. I don't know. By the time these two bands have new records out, the heavy metal scene will have imploded upon itself again and rebuilt itself, and they'll come back to a new scene for the second time. What is taking so long for these two bands to put out music? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, it's way too long. I mean, for Merciful Fate, I know they weren't together for most of the last decade or so. But King Diamond was, and even he didn't put out any music under the King Diamond banner. So I don't know. I just don't get it. And before that, Witchfind, like it says, Gra Scoresby, the drummer, passed away in a car accident. Witchfind are another band. They're a perfect example of everything that's going wrong in the scene today. I really believe that I'm standing alone here because I see all these articles on Blabbermouth of Brave Words, and I see people like going crazy like for the reunited Savatage, which is none of the original members, and we talk about this all the time. I know that, but I keep thinking like somebody. You always get that one guy that's just like me that'll stand up and say, "This is a cover band. This isn't the Savatage that people want." But then everybody else is like, "I can't wait. Come here. I'm disappointed that you're not playing in the US in 2025." I'm not disappointed. I'm happy they're not playing here this year because I wouldn't go anyway. That's not Savatage to me. A bunch of talented musicians, great in their own bands, but that is not Savatage. If John Oliver was playing with them on this tour, I might think about going because at least he is the voice of Savatage, not Zach Stevens. But Witchfind is another example of that. A band that's been around for a long time. Montalvo is like the only original member of the band that's been doing it like since the very beginning. And, he's had different people in and out of the band. Like we said, Gra was with them for a very long time also. Luther was with them for a long time before he retired. But it's really been Montalvo who's been the main guy in that band. And, a couple of years ago, you had Tracy Abbott, who was on those first two records, get into a fight with, who was it? I don't remember now. I'm losing my train of thought here. Tracy Abbott was fighting with someone else that came into the band. I just can't think of who the hell it is right now. Why am I drawing such a blank right now? Andrew Colton was fine. Oh, Andrew Colton and Tracy Abbott were going on. I'm sorry. I got completely confused here. Andrew Colton, the bass player for the band in the first two records, he claimed that the name of the band belongs to him. He spoke with Montalvo about it, and he was going to use the name. Tracy Abbott, who never played on a Savatage record, gave him overdrive, took over the band, took over the name. He was just a secondary guitar player that was added to the band like later on. He just managed to take over the whole thing. He never contributed nothing to that band, musically. And he was running with it. Then he changed the name to Witchfinder Rex. Andrew Coulter changed the name to Give It Hell because 2 years ago, once again, the Keep It True Festival brought him over there with Witchfind. People were expecting to see Witchfind. Gra, Montalvo, Luther. All they got was the bass player. And this is one thing I say about the Keep It True Festival. That's what they're famous for doing. They grab one minor member of a band, they put up a lineup around him, and they name it that band, and that's what it is. Did you notice that Ride 5 isn't listed as Ride 5 on the band? It's just Riot now. Little by little, the 5 is disappearing from the Riot, and it's just Riot. And the same thing with Witchfind. So now you got two versions of Witchfind. One that has the old bass player playing two records, and another guy who has a guitar player and playing any records. This is what's wrong with the scene today. When a band breaks up, let the band die a peaceful, merciful death. Let it just end. Their music is going to live on forever through their albums, their cassettes, their CDs. They're never going to go away. It's just like when you watch a movie that has somebody, like I watch a movie with Marlon Brando. He's gone, but he's still here to me because I'm watching him in a movie. It never ends. It never dies. You may not see that band live anymore, but that's what you have cover bands for. They go out there and they play all the tunes by these bands. Chains and Leather, a great band that Christian, one of our fans here, has. He goes out there and plays the best of the 80s classic underground metal. So you can go see a band like his that are going to give you all those great songs. You don't need to see a band that has one member who was a minor member, a part-time member, or a member that joined later on, trying to recreate the style of that band. It just isn't worth it, in my opinion. I know I go on about this all the time, but it just bothers me. I'm hoping Donald Trump just signs an executive order banning this. I'm going to have to get on him later on about that because it's taking too long for that to happen. But until he does, here's some Crackjaw, Galley Without Aim.
There was riot in the harbor, the train being
All right, still Prophet with Life. Rick Mathiasen is an amazing singer. He's just a fucking burnt out guy who can't keep his shit together. I mean, still Prophet should have wanted so many bigger and better things. They had a lot going on for them. I had both of them on my show a few times, and Rick is completely off the fucking wall. I mean, he's just one of those guys that's like out there, you know. And it's a shame because he's a great singer. He just, can't get his shit together. What are you gonna do? Before that, Wrath with Mystical Nights. We kicked off that set with Crackjaw and Galley Without Aim. I saw Kelly Nichols from Riley's LA Guns said the band is officially over for reasons that are obvious and maybe not so obvious. I mean, it was a cover band of a cover band of a cover band. Because didn't we have LA Guns? Was there Phil Lewis's LA Guns or just Tracy Gunn's LA Guns? Then there was Steve Riley's LA Guns. So many versions of LA Guns, I lost track after a while. But Steve died, what, a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I think? More like a year and a half ago. And they still kept this thing going for a year and a half. So what's the obvious part? After he passed away, you should have just ended it, but you didn't. You did some shows, you released some singles. I just don't get it. And his answer was that, no one wants to see bull fat old people on stage performing and playing anymore. So that's why they're packing it in and calling it a day. But I guarantee if Steve Riley was alive, the band would still be together, they'd still be playing, and it would be okay for everybody to go see fat bald guys on stage playing. They're just a joke, another joke. Band should have never started to begin with. They just should have came up with a different name and wrote different music, and it would have been the same style as LA Guns because that's what you did, but it should have been completely different. But this is what goes on in this business. All right, let's get one more set of music on here, and then we will have to get to our next interview. So, you know what? Before I do that, I want to play. There's this band called White Pride. I found one of my old MP3 plays, like maybe freaking 20 years ago when it first came out. I was going through my playlist, and there's a band called White Pride. They were out of St. Louis, Missouri. There's not a lot of info on these guys. I think Michael Disco and Bob Leach or something were the two main guys in the band. They were like a new wave punk type band called Antimation, I believe. And they had this band. The whole point of this band was just to offend people, because that's what punk rock is all about, is offending people. There's songs in there like called Jew Girl, Faggot Something, Illegal Aliens, Fuck You. I mean, that's what punk was all about. And if they tried to put that record out today, there would be people protesting in front of the house 24/7. But back then in 82, 83 when this came out, people just laughed it off. I mean, it was just funny shit, you know what I mean? Today people are just too serious about things. And if you ever go to like these guys' Facebook pages, they're the most left-leaning liberal people you could ever imagine in your life. So this was just a goof, people. Take it for what it was. It was just funny stuff at the time. But you know what happens? The neo-Nazi groups get a hold of it and like, oh yeah, this is our anthem. And they promote it, and the joke goes sour. And that's what happens with a lot of things in life. But let me play White Pride for you first. No, I'm not going to do that song. Even I won't play that song. So maybe we'll do, let's see. Let's do Illegal Alien if I could dig it up here. I don't want to play Fuck You. Yeah, okay, here's White Pride, Illegal Alien. This should be Donald Trump's theme song.
America's for Americans, not for the
You gotta love that song and the lyrics too. It's hysterical. Oh my god, I get such a kick out of that tune. Build the fence, close the door. We don't want the filthy poor. There you go, White Pride. Okay, you know what? Let's do one more tune, then we'll get to an interview with Tim Wilson. How about we do some Destruct? I wanted to get this on a couple of weeks ago when Juan was on the show. I just ran out of time, so here's Tear Down the Heavens. All right, there you go, Destructive. We're gonna get any music from those guys pretty soon, as well as Vocal Devils. I love both of those bands that he has. So Dave Overkill. Don't forget to check him out. All right, let's get to Tim Wilson from Rollin Coffin. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Oh,
Hey Tim, this
can
is
you
Mike
hear me?
calling you back. Yeah,
What's
can you
up?
hear me?
Yep.
How
What's
you
going
doing,
on?
man? How you been?
I'm
You know,
good.
just waiting to talk to you
Sorry.
tonight.
Sorry, I was a little late, but some of the interviews ran over a little.
Believe me, I know that. I know when I'm like one of the last ones of the night, everybody goes 5 minutes over. You're always waiting. I
Yeah.
believe me, I'm used to it. Don't worry about it. That's just the way it
Cool.
goes. We don't have as long to talk, but we'll get it all in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I have to tell you, man, I'm glad that there's new music. It's been a couple of years since the last record, Product of the Mice came out, and I mean, I got this song, I put it on, and right away you start getting into that groove in the beginning. Then the lyrics start up, and you hear, "Can't you see I'm unfulfilled?" And I'm like, "Holy shit!" And that just took me to a whole nother place. I mean, just that first line grabbed you. It's like when you go to a movie, like you're caught on screen by that first action scene. It's just incredible.
That's cool, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been getting
such a
a good
solid
amount.
tune.
People seem to like the lyrics on this one, so that's always really cool, you know?
True, and you write a song like this, and you could play for 20 different people, and you'll get 20 different meanings of what the song is to those people based on, I guess, how they're feeling, what it's all about. But I can't help but think it's just about the yin and yang of life, the good and the evil, and somebody looking for redemption out of it. I mean, what is it to you? What does this song mean to you? Is it something personal, or just something that you just kind of thought up?
There's always a personal undertone to all my stuff, but you pretty much hit it right on the head with the duality of life, like the yin and yang. Like if you took it like the sun, like I am the sun, being like all the things in my life that I hold true and that are close and dear to me, like my music, my regular life, the things that I believe in, this the things that I choose to surround myself with, and then all those exterior forces being the rain trying to go and take my life away, for half my life being upside down, which is very very true, and within that half making some poor decisions but rising above and becoming a better person through it.
Wow, I mean that's pretty intense. I mean, is there more coming, or is this? I mean, like when you look at it, like even like when you came out with Product of the Mice, it was I think a 4 or 5 song EP. And it seems like today more and more bands are focused on putting out EPs more often or singles more often because I don't know if it's the death of the full length record where they just don't want to do it anymore or it's a different industry right now. And I know bands have more control over the music today than they ever have, considering, the big labels that took over things in the 60s, the 70s, 80s, even the 90s. So,
Right. Oh my
I
God.
mean,
That's
do you
so
think the
different.
long form record is dead?
I don't think it's dead. I think it's just I don't, and I also don't think it's a case that people don't want to do it anymore. I do feel musicians, but I do feel people's attention spans are way less. I think as you
Yeah.
when you brought up the 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the early 90s, the heyday of the music business, that is over. There is so many more distractions for the average person, not even the average listener, to spend their money on, that it's it's just the reality now. Like kids play video games. There's a million different bands. There's a million things to do in the world for entertainment. Whereas back in the day, you would go to a concert and it was like a big fucking deal, or you would buy a record and you would spend whatever it was to sit there and read the lyrics, look at the artwork. That is over. Nobody gives a shit anymore, and it's sad, but that is the reality.
you know,
So,
it's like a double-edged sword with the business because it's a business to you also as much as it is artistic. So as the artistic person in that business, it must kill you that you work so hard to come up with something like this, and people are like, well, you know what, I'm gonna go play my game first. I'll play it later, and they
no,
don't give it
it's
the time
it's
and attention that it deserves.
because there is no attention span anymore. Look what we've
Yeah,
been reduced to. Look, like everybody's on Spotify. They go to a playlist. You're getting like a fucking half a cent for everything you put into that song to put it out there. It's like what Glenn Danzig said recently. Just like yeah, I don't really want to record anymore because you're basically just giving it away. They want you to give it away for free now. That's
Yeah.
like, artists and people who are really true to the art world and are trying to make a living at this. They're all up in arms because it's insane what's going on, and nobody gives a shit. It's sad.
It's true. I mean, you could trace it back to the '90s with like LimeWire and Napster, where people were like,
Yeah,
getting music over there for free. And I went on there many times back in the day because I looked for old demo tapes that I had in the '80s that I used to collect, and even into the '90s and stuff like that. I would never look for new music on there because I'm old school. I go to the record store, I buy my there's not a lot
right.
of record stores left anymore. You do that online too, but
Yeah.
I buy my
Well,
CDs, I
yeah.
buy my vinyl records, and it's an experience. It's no different than going to a movie, going to a play, going to a ball game. It's the same thing. It's an experience that you have to enjoy, and it's crazy how that's missing today. And it's kind of sad, like you said.
Yeah, no, it's totally sad, and I think it does affect certain levels of musicians and bands where it's just easier. Look, you're working your ass off, and Spotify, you put a single up there, and maybe you get lucky, and maybe a couple of people hit it up, and maybe that is what leads to a record deal, And I don't want to be all doom and gloom because there's some amazing shit going on out there. And for me, and where I'm at, and what I choose to get myself involved with the music business is I don't want to be like super committed like I was for 15 years living on the road, making huge personal sacrifices to pursue my career and my art and my interests. And yeah, it did pay off. I'm lucky enough that I'm in a position now where I could put out an EP, I could trickle out singles, and people actually want to hear the stuff. Is it an enormous amount of people? No, but they're my fans. They've been with me for a long time, and yes, there's definitely new ones. And I'm more than humbled and grateful that they're willing to give it the time and attention it deserves.
Absolutely. I mean, I know you've been in this business for decades, and when I first heard about Rollin Coffin about 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, I wonder if we're gonna get something like Blood Simple or Vision of Disorder. And I said, you know what? Blood Simple wasn't Vision of Disorder, and Rollin Coffin was none of the two. You've always taken all your musical endeavors in a different direction and a different sound, and I think that's great that you could express yourself in multiple different ways with different genres of music and still have it be you.
Yeah, I think I'm fortunate. I've been around long enough that I know, for the most part, I know my fans. I know what they expect from me, and I want to give them. And I'm really addressing my core fans right now. And if I could pick up new ones along the way, that's all gravy, and that's amazing. But I'm in this because I love it and I want to do it. It was never for the money. It's still definitely not for the money. And I want to just put music out there, and I feel grateful and lucky that I have a fan base that will accept it, give it a shot, and so far so good. People seem to be into it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it does help that you've got the name recognition from the other bands too, because people at least know who you are and what they could kind of
Yeah.
expect. But I don't think they can really expect what they're thinking because Roland Crawford is nothing like your other bands. I think you've hit a whole new high with this. And I mean, is this really just all you? I mean, because the other bands had other members in it that have to contribute and be a part of the process, where this seems to be
Yeah,
just
of
your
course.
your entire vision.
This is my entire vision, but I do obviously have another member who is my co-writing partner who helps bring the vision to a better, a more professional level. And he helps, he lays the live drums down, he lays the guitars down. But the difference is these songs start with me and a guitar in my home studio with like a super simple drum loop. Once I get a good scratch track down, I start laying in the vocals where I do obviously put more of my intention and experience into.
Does anything get lost in translation from you to your partner when you're trying to let him come up with the put all the things to music? I mean, does it
It's
change a
just
little bit?
they change, and sometimes I don't like the change, and I say forget this. We're gonna either start something else, or you got to come up with something else. But what I do like about Holland is he got the vision right away, and he was very quick to give it back. Like I've been trying to get this going ever since VOD quieted down, what, let's say 2018, VOD kind of stopped playing, and I tried a couple of different avenues to get this project, out of my studio and into the public arena, and no one really, I couldn't get anybody to click with me, and it just wasn't really happening. Then you get a little discouraged. 6 months go by, and then all of a sudden, I reconnected with Colin because I've known him for a while, and he's like, "Just send me a couple of songs, let me hear them," and he knew it right away, and that's very important. So we work pretty well together, and we pull it off.
Yeah, that you do. I mean, is this something that you're just willing to always keep a studio project, or maybe put it together some way to get out on the road or do some slick shows here and there?
No, I do. I think we're starting to get a good amount of attention, and we're starting to put together enough that we could put together a respectable live set. So I do see, especially how this single go is going, and maybe the next single, see how it hits. That it's going to be almost inevitable that I'm going to have to go out and bring this to the live audience.
Yeah. Does playing live today still have the same impact that it did like back in the 90s? Or 'cause as we get older and we have more commitments and families and all stuff like that, it gets a little harder and harder to want to go out and do stuff like that. And I mean, with the VOD, you guys were out at the Luke Hall benefit like 5 or 6 months ago. You guys get out there to play for that. I mean, so is it still fun to go out there and play live, or does it get to be a drag after a while?
Playing live, especially for the most part, is always pretty fun. Um, I would say it's almost like the reward because, especially a show like that Lou benefit, we work pretty hard to tighten everything up and go into rehearsals and juggling everything else that's going on in our personal lives. You start rehearsing once, twice a week again. That's like disruptive. And it's a lot of work. And people don't live as close as they do anymore. And people have different fucking schedules. It's like, it's not easy to do, but the reward is the live show, and especially when it goes well. Because been playing live since 1992. It comes very naturally. I still consider myself in pretty relatively good shape, and we go out there and we blew the roof off of that place, and that's just what we've always done, and what I hope we continue to do if and when we do it again.
I hope you. I mean, I was so upset I couldn't make that show because I know Lou since the '80s. My band used to play with Sick of It All back in the in the hardcore days at CBGB's, and I was so happy that this took place. I wish I could have made it there. I hope it went well.
Yeah, no, it went incredibly well. It couldn't have gone better. It was just one of those New York hardcore, Long Island hardcore moments where a ton of people got together for a good cause to support a good person in the scene. I hope I'm as lucky. Not that, God, I'm very upset that he got sick, but so many people would turn out for me.
Let's hope we never find out. I mean,
Yeah, let's
that's
hope
just
we
something you
don't.
want to
But
think about.
it was just an incredible thing to be a part of, and it definitely lit the fire under our asses to possibly entertain, maybe doing a couple more gigs. But we'll see where that lands.
Yeah, anytime people talk about New York, I mean, Long Island's a part of New York. I'm in New York. I came from Brooklyn, back in the day, and they forget that Long Island has such a strong scene, a heavy metal scene, a hardcore scene. There were so many bands that came from Long Island that I just don't think
Oh
get the
yeah.
credit that that scene deserved back in the day. Everybody focused on the Lower East Side and Manhattan, and then you had the Queens and the outlets in Brooklyn, but more for the metal, but Long Island was like a stronghold all to its own back then. I mean, is it still kind of vibrant today for that scene?
It's definitely probably still vibing. Whether or not I'm in attendance, I'm not gonna lie. I don't get out there as much as I used to. I don't live out there anymore. But it's great, vibrant, young. Very fertile. It's almost reminiscent of when we were coming up. It's extremely doing pretty well right now. And when we were doing our thing, a lot of the city bands got hip to it, and they started coming out and playing there all the time because it was just for a couple of years there, you had tons of fucking people showing up.
Yeah, it was a great scene. I mean, I remember like it was yesterday, even though it's like 30, 40 years ago when you think about it. But,
Yeah.
you talk about those early days. I mean, you guys were young when you got signed I think it was Roadrunner was the first label you guys signed to with the first record for
Yes.
VOD. I
Yep,
mean,
yep,
I mean,
he's
they were a
Roadrunner.
pretty established label back then. They weren't like
Oh
Atlantic
yeah,
or EMI, but they were a big underground label. So, I mean, what was
yeah.
it like getting signed to a label like that? Did they put a lot of shit on you
Oh.
that they wanted you to do, or did they just say, hey, do what you want?
No, it was extremely exciting, obviously, and it was extremely new. And little did we know, we thought we had it made. We thought it was going to be incredible, which it was. It was quite the ride, but it's very cutthroat. Your first week sales come out, and it's just they better be something, or they're going to yank your tour support. You know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
weren't too. We were somewhat established by then. They knew where our strongholds were, which would be obviously the Northeast, and we were pulling pretty big numbers. So they didn't really make us do anything that we didn't want to do. And we were young. We didn't know that much. We kind of were following in the footsteps of some of our peers with some of our like production choices and you get into that. They're like, here's your A&R guy. He's got a big smile on his face. Howie Abrams, who I still talk to today, great guy. But it's just,
Howie's great.
yeah, you're just in it, and Howie's in it, and everybody's in it, and it's just everybody's, just trying to obviously support you, but you got to generate some money because all these figures go off to another floor that they don't really give a shit who you are or what you are. They're looking at numbers, and if those numbers don't check out, like I said, you're going to have a very short touring cycle.
Yeah. But you know what? When you think about it, I mean, it's like when you have a kid who's playing baseball. There's a farm team. They put them on the farm team. They get them going. They train them. They teach them how to be a major league player. Get them up there. That's what the A&R departments of record labels are supposed to be for. They get you to the next level, help you get there. And that kind of disappeared with a lot of the bigger labels back then. And like Howie is
Yeah.
a great guy, so he would always work with you. But how much could they expect from a business putting out their first record in the mid '90s when the entire scene was up and it was just completely changing. It was all over the place back then. Imprint came out 2 years later, and that was a pretty established record for the band.
Yeah, no, that was great. Roadrunner was good. They gave us the money and the support to do our first record that obviously ushered us out to the national circuit and the world circuit. And, they footed the bill for that. And then they gave us the money and let us do whatever the hell we wanted with Imprint. And that was really great, too. And we did some really incredible shit with that record. And then the record went on to prove the test of time. And, after that, things got a little discouraging and a little blurry. And, hindsight, maybe we should have stayed on Roadrunner and maybe we would have did two more records with them. And, who knows what could have happened. But, whatever. It is what it is.
That's true, but you know what? When you look back on it, the band is still, together today. I mean, I know there's some breakups in between, and the legacy that's left behind is like, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, some kid is going to buy one of those records. Say, holy shit, these guys are really good. And it's just going to go on and on and on like that forever. There's always be one kid who's going to pick up a record decades from now and keep this thing going. And it's going to be the same with Roller Coffin,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, that would be that's what it is. I like to write music that stands the test of time and kind of just burns in the background. And then that's what it was. Like VOD did all those records, then we did Bliss. Bliss kind of was a wild card if you think about it. But then I was out doing all this touring for fucking Blood Simple, and people are coming up to me like, "Yo, when's VOD getting back?" I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? VOD? What do you mean?" Like all this stuff was taking place years later, and and I'm just like, I'm out here killing myself with this band. Where were you guys back then when we were doing Bliss and all
Yeah.
this shit? It's very ironic like that. And now it's like, Blood Simple was incredible. We have some pretty high sales, and we did some really big tours. But I'm more known for VOD. No one, people mention Blood Simple, but anything and anything is all about VOD. And I'm proud of that. That's all good. But it's like that's just the way it goes.
Of course. Well, it's like your first baby. You love it a little bit more. At least I know in my family I do. I'm just saying. It's your first one, so that's what's going to happen. But, talking about Rollin' Coffin, I mean, Sun and Rain, the single, I mean, do you have more in the can right now that you're going to slowly release as, the year goes on? Or was it just like one
Yeah,
for now
yeah. We
just to get
have we
something
have
out there
another
and more
single
coming?
that was yeah, we have another single that was recorded within those sessions. So we're gonna let this one run. Hopefully, it's got some legs, and then we're gonna drop the next single. And in between those things, we'll be doing a video for Sun and Rain. And right there, that's enough. Like that's gonna keep me busy as hell. So, by the end of that, maybe there'll be some live shows talked about in the fall, and then I'll start. I'm already writing. It's just when we get switched back to that phase, that'll start happening. With Rolling Coffin, and when you're not on like a full-time label that's just got you in some sort of cycle, things tend to take a little longer, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm not in any rush.
that's true. Do you have to sit yourself down to write, or is this whenever it comes to you, it comes to you, and then you put stuff together? Is it more natural that way?
I can write vocal harmonies and melodies every fucking day, all the time. Every time I pick up a guitar, whether or not it's good enough for me to go put pencil to paper and start writing lyrics and then go and record it is a whole different story.
Yeah. Do you remember the first song you worked on or wrote where in your mind you're saying, "Holy shit, this song is incredible"? Like, because some people don't like the work that they put together. Some people love certain parts of it. But do you remember that one song you said, "Holy shit, I got a winner here"?
Yeah,
Like, this was
yeah,
the first
yeah.
one where it came together.
Well, I would say, believe it or not, when we're talking about Rollin' Coffin, the song "Misery." I knew when that
Yeah.
song came out of nowhere. I started recording and writing it, and then it just clicked, and it was just I was in my home studio, and I knew right away, like this is a fucking great song. This is one of the best songs I've ever written, and we went on to record it, and it was pretty well accepted. So right then and there is the answer to that.
Yeah. Do you discard the ones that you struggle a lot with because you feel like it's not coming together now, it may never come together, or do you just keep, working on it over time and eventually just finds its way to
No,
becoming a song?
no. If I'm struggling too much with it, maybe I'll put it on the side for a while, and then there's always other ideas, and I usually go with things that kind of are clicking right away. Not even right away, but just more smoothly. And yeah, no, and it's also very good to have a writing partner because I send things to him, and then there's some things he likes that I don't like, and then I'm like, all right, let me go back into this, and I do, and I go back into it, and the relationship we have and the environment we have, it's very open, and it leaves a lot of room to go back and work at things again. Whereas sometimes in different experiences, you just want to bang it out, get it done, get on to the next track, and keep moving. Where there's a lot more room to breathe.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hey, Tim, I got to let you go because we ran really late today. And I got another one to do in about 5 minutes that
Yeah,
I got to
I
get
do
to.
too. I got one
Uh,
right after this, so I
yeah,
really
but
appreciate it. I'm sorry I was a little late. I think it was a great interview. You asked some really great questions, and I really appreciate the time.
listen, I'm a big fan. Sun and Rain, the single, and I know we're going to get more from you this year. I can't wait for it. I kind of live for these things. I like it when you get it in dribs and drabs because it gives you something to look forward to instead of getting it all at one
Thank you.
time. So I can't wait for the next single, Tom. I know it's going to be a killer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. We'll have to catch up on the next go around.
Absolutely. I'm going to make sure I'm the first one on the list the next time.
Outstanding. Good stuff, man.
All
We'll
right,
catch up
buddy.
soon.
You got it.
Take
Talk to you
care.
soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Can't you see I'm unfulfilled? What else can be done? For me there is nothing left but oblivion. What a sickening feeling to
Okay, brand new Rollin Coffin, Sun and Rain. Pretty intense lyrics to that song. Tim's a great guy. Wish we would have more time to talk, but like we said, he was doing interviews all day long, and I was like in the last spot. So what happens is the first interview goes 5 minutes over, the second one goes 5 minutes over. By the time they get to you at the end of the day, they're like 45 minutes late. I had other stuff to do that day, so we had to kind of keep it quick. But it is what it is, right? We'll get Tim on here again. Next week, Jose Ferro of Agents is on the show, so don't forget to tune in for that. Jose's with us live next week. I think, let me take a look at the calendar here. No, the week after that, we have Herman Rearbell, former drummer of the Scorpions. So we got a great bunch of guests coming up for this month. It's been kind of slow, the interviews this year. Not a lot of releases coming out. And usually by now we have two guests on every week. It's only been one a week. There's not a lot of albums being released that, anybody's doing press for. I haven't really had the ambition to go and look for people to put on the show myself. The few people I've reached out to have given me nothing but grief. So I'm not even trying right now. We're just doing whatever wants to come through on press days. That's just the way it is. I saw in the paper yesterday that Skype is shutting down. I think in May. So I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. I remember using Skype all the time when I first started doing the show. Then I realized that Skype is how I do the show. We have a Skype phone number. We don't use Skype to do the show, but we purchased a phone number through Skype to use on our switchboard that connects us to all of our guests. So when Skype shuts down in May, I don't know how the hell we're going to have live guests on the show anymore because I need that Skype number to use. Even though we don't really use the interface of Skype, we use the number that we pay for from Skype with the switchboard from Mixler and with Spreaker. So I don't know what I'm going to do. So if anybody knows of any other options that are similar to Skype, I saw that Zoom offers a number, but it's like $30 a month. I pay $30 for the number from Skype for my lifetime, which was only about 5 or 6 years because they're shutting down. But it was a one-time fee. I'm not looking to spend $30 a month on a phone number to do 4 interviews a month. So if anybody knows another option that's similar to Skype, where I get a phone number on the internet that I could dial in and out of, let me know. John came through with Mixler, where he sent me a link to another site, which led me to Mixler, and that's what kept the show going live to begin with. Because by now we would have been doing pre-recorded shows on Spreaker. So thanks to John for that. So maybe John could do a little sleuthing around and finding out if there's anything out there similar to Skype where I can purchase a phone number, use it on the internet. I think it's called VoIP, and I'm not really good with the computer, so it's kind of difficult. But, if anybody knows anything out there, let me know. If not, I'm going to have to do interviews on my phone and hold the phone up to the speaker on the switchboard to see if I can get it to work. But it's always crappy audio that way. So maybe I'll try that Google Voice again. I think I tried it once before. It didn't really work on Spreaker, but maybe here Mixler might work. We'll see. But if anybody knows of any options, let me know. We'll figure it out. If not, all the guests are going to be, the show will be live, but the guests will have to be pre-recorded, which I don't like. I like doing them live. They're more fun that way because you never know what can be said or done. Even though when I do pre-record interviews, they are kind of like they're live because I just do them and I air them. I don't edit them. I don't cut things out. They're just the same way we did them. Okay. Slayer just announced a whole bunch of shows that they're going to be doing this year in festivals. So don't those people that feel like morons spending $1,000 on a ticket to see Slayer's final show, final tour, then they come back and they start playing again 5 years later. It started with one or two festivals last year, and I think they got about 6 or 7 shows so far this year. It's only the beginning of March. It's a whole year ahead of us. So, you think you've seen them for the last time. I mean, I went with Tommy to see the Scorpions when they were doing their final farewell tour. That was 15 years ago, and they're still playing. So much for a final farewell. I hate when bands do that. It's a gimmick, and maybe they really do mean it. I mean, listen, I said I couldn't do the show anymore years ago, and I stopped doing the live show. We just pre-recorded interviews for like a year and a half, then I decided to do the live show again. So I get it. I said we weren't going to do it no more. It was going to end for good, and we came back a year and a half later. So I do get that. You miss it when you're not doing it for a while, and you want to do it again. With me, it was different. I had a couple of grandchildren I was babysitting full-time and working full-time. I just couldn't do it no more. So when I got within my year of retirement and my granddaughter was older, I started doing the show again. And I won't give it up now unless all these sites that we host them on kind of go kaput, but it is what it is. But let me know. Microsoft Teams, John, saying, yeah, I tried that, John. Zoom, Skype got merged into Microsoft Teams, but there's no number to dial in and out of. You have to have somebody come on, and it doesn't connect with the switchboard of the show. I need an internet phone number to make that happen because we use virtual cables, VB cables, to connect everybody. It's a little complicated. I barely understand it myself, but I got all the instructions written down so I can keep it going. All right, let me see. Let's get back to the music here. Let's do a little E-trope. Kill the enemy.
Rising some buffoon, blown away by her style. She goes out of her way so that she can play and make him beg for a little while. Shoot him down, shoot him down. Shoot him down, shoot him down. Shoot him down, shoot him down. Shoot him down to the ground. Like caviar, a fine foreign car. He's a motivator. Dressed to the T's and down on the knees. He's a masturbator. He'll make him crawl for the hell of it all. He likes to see him cry. And then just for fun, he'll say she's a one. And then he'll make her die. Shoot him down, shoot him down. Shoot him down, shoot him down. Shoot him down, shoot him down. Shoot him down to the ground. They don't care about feelings. They were meant to be stepped on. And while one is healing, they go and step on another one. These people prey on us every day. Some are bad, some better. They think we're fools, so they make their own rules. It only gets us madder. Well, they think they're hot. Well, I say they're not. They shoot us down for fun. If they wanna play, well, let's make 'em pay and shoot them down with a gun. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down to the ground. Come on now. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down to the ground. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. Shoot 'em down, shoot 'em down. We'll shoot them down. Shoot them down. Shoot 'em down.
There you go. New York's finest, Twisted Sister with Shoot 'Em Down. I've been on such a Twisted Sister kick lately. You know what it is? Dee Schneider hosts a show called Breaking the Band. It's on the Reels channel. It's like a half-hour music documentary show. There's a lot of heavy metal bands and hard rock bands on there. They also do like, they have Heart, they did Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Poison, you know, Scorpions, you name it. He's done every band in there. It's almost like if TMZ did a music documentary show every week. It's a lot of gossip about the bands and, you know, all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll story. And he's the host of the show. So it's pretty cool. So I did like a whole marathon over the last 2 days. I think I got about 5 episodes left to get through. So if you can, check it out. It's pretty cool. Before that, Atomic Cocktail with Times Square. We had Bruce Batten on the show almost about 10 years ago we had him on the show. Bruce was a great guy. He passed away about 2 years ago. You know, he was in some of the best Florida metal bands from back in the 80s. Atomic Cocktail came out actually in the 90s, but he was a part of Brat, Thunder, some really cool bands he was a part of. And Atomic Cocktail also features Gene Adams on vocals, who sang on the first Annihilator record. I'm sorry, Iced Earth record. He was with Iced Earth. He was with Purgatory, actually, before they became Iced Earth. He sang on that first record. He hooked up with Bruce, and they created Atomic Cocktail, which were a really good band. I wish more would have happened for them, but by the time they came out, it was like I said, 91, 92, and they started releasing demos. The scene was pretty much dead and buried by that time, and there was no chance these guys were going to make it. But after Bruce was on the show, he sent me a whole bunch of new recordings that he was working on. You know, as I guess there were going to be new Brat music, new Atomic Cocktail music. They were great. I still have that CD over here. Shame. He was a great guitar player and a really cool musician. And before that, we had a little Thin Ice. I haven't played them on the show in a while. One More Last Time. And we kicked off that set with E-Trope, Kill the Enemy. We're down to the last few minutes here, a couple of more tunes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Hey, last week, we're supposed to have Pat Murlock for Fear on the show. He didn't call in, so we put him in the book. And now I feel kind of bad because the next day he got me and apologized. He was in the hospital. He couldn't do it. He sent me pictures of him in the hospital, all his injuries and everything. And I felt even more horrible. I mean, he didn't know that we kind of banned him from the show, so I think we're going to have to unban him. And I think we have to go to maybe like a 7-day rule. When somebody screws us on a Sunday night, let's wait till the next Sunday before we put them in the book. That way, in case they call up with a sob story or something bad happened to them, at least we can forgive them. So I guess we're going to have to take him out of the book, and the book is empty right now. So we're going to get him on maybe in a couple of weeks. He's going to be on that Monsters of Rock cruise. We're going to be performing there. So we'll try to get him on before then if we can, if not after that. So I do feel bad for putting him in the book, especially after I saw his injuries. So there you go. All right, let's. How about we do? Let's do some Sacred Oath. It's been a little while since we've played them. We'll do maybe some Blood Money after that. We'll come back and wrap it up.
name had long since been eroded. The date was barely there. But all I saw was falling upon that tombstone's deadly stare. Read or behold as you pass by. As you are now so once was I. As I am now so
All right, I want to thank Tim Wilson for being on tonight's show. Next week, Jose Fierro from Agents and the Screaming Lords will be on here. Don't forget to tune in live. Let's wrap it up here tonight with some metal from Canada, Kraken with Executioner. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday night.
You lie here among us, waiting for your trial. You think you have something to say? Well, I have some news that when you pay your dues, it's done in a different way. They kick you, but whip you, and if you resist, you'll beg for your mercy and cry. For the gods and the gallows to join as one, so you can have peace and die. Executioner, executioner. Footsteps and benches, they're coming to get you, coming to take you away. You can't run, you can't hide, you must go, you can't stay, go on, and I will pray. God, hear my prayers, hold this man to the light. You'll feel like in hell before the ending of the night. No mercy, no pity, just pleasure they feel from human sacrifice. Executioner, executioner, executioner. Hear my plea, hear my cause and live. Executioner, hear my plea, hear my cause and live. Kill him, save me. Kill him, save me. Executioner, executioner, executioner. Hear my plea, hear my cause and live. Executioner, hear my plea, hear my cause and live. Kill him, save me. Kill him, save me. Who lives guillotine is all he can see. He falls to his knees and he screams. But the lashing of the axeman forwards and takes him quickly out of his dreams. He begs and he pleads on his hands and knees as they drag him out to that cage. Inhuman injustice, no more to help us disgrace of the human race. Executioner, executioner, executioner. Hear my plea, hear my cause and live. Executioner, hear my plea, hear my cause and live. Kill him, save me. Kill him, save me. Executioner, 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 executioner.
Hey, what do you say? This is Bobby Blitz. That's right. We're on Metal Mayhem. You're in the right place.